Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 29th of October 2018, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session. First of all, I do apologize for the late start. My colleague was running his video before that, so yep, had to delay the Traders Tea Time. So but yep, now I believe we can continue. So guys, we're gonna have a look at the charts, we're gonna have a look at a few instruments, but as always, before we start looking at those, we are gonna read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay guys, so now then, let's not waste any more of our time and let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on is the DAX. Now looking at the DAX here, you can see that we're finally getting a nice move here to the upside. We're getting a bit of correction, but for now, judging this, looking at this picture and what we're seeing on the 4-hour chart here, we could potentially continue traveling higher here, because as you can see, we've managed to break this very short-term upside, a very short-term downside resistance line taken from the peak of the 4th of October. And in a way, now looking at this, it seems that the index wants to continue pushing higher and potentially maybe test the 11,500 zone. Now, the 11,500 is going to be our kind of point here that we're going to keep a close eye on, because if eventually we're going to get a nice close above this level, now this could be a nice good sign here for the bulls, where potentially we could see maybe a continuation here, a continuation in the rise here, and which could lead towards the another test of another good potential area of resistance at around 11,680 zone, which is marked by the high that we saw around the 22nd of October, or to be more specific, Monday last week. So in a way, keep your eyes on this, guys. Keep your eyes on the 11,500 zone, because like I said, a nice good break above this and eventually a nice good close on the daily chart here above this level could potentially open the path towards the next possible area of resistance at around 11,680. And if that doesn't hold, well, to be honest, we do have a much better area here, which is the 11,850, which was marked here by the highs of the 17th of October. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on this, keep your eyes on this downside resistance line as well, because the day is not finished yet. So in a way, we could see maybe a reversal here, a sharp reversal back to the downside. And if something like this happens, then, well, I mean, this is where we could be play out a bit more cautiously this game here, because if it goes below the 11,320 zone, approximately there, we could then maybe see a further drop here towards the lows that we saw here recently, or to be more precise, last week. So certainly this could be a possibility, but to be honest, this area here between the 11,320 zone here on the top and on the bottom, the 11,050 area here, approximately there. Now this could be our, in a way, neutral zone, where we're going to just stay put and see how it performs, because for us to get more, let's say, excited about the downside, we would need to see a good break here below this 11,050, where we could then see a possible test of the 11,000 level, and if that doesn't hold, well, further slide here towards the 10,825, which was marked here by the low. Let me just kind of actually jump into a daily chart quickly on this one in order to kind of show you. So this area here, the 10,825 acted as a very strong area of resistance initially here around October time 2016. So quite an important level to watch here. But again, I will repeat myself, only if we get a move back down here below the short-term steep downside resistance line, and then we eventually get a break below the 11,050 zone. Only then we're going to consider a possible move towards this area right here at 10,825. But for now, again, judging by this 4-hour chart, as you can see, it seems that it wants to continue pushing higher. Of course, like I said, still will remain somewhat cautious here, and but keep a close eye on this 11,500, because a nice good break above that could potentially open the path towards higher levels. Let's jump into one crypto, and certainly the crypto world has not been the most exciting one lately. As you can see, we have been just moving sideways here a little bit, but today we saw a bit of a downside here, where eventually, or should I say finally, there is some sort of life here in this crypto, and as you can see now, we're the crypto, the Bitcoin here tested the this short-term upside support line that has been running here since around mid-August. And of course, the big question here is, are we going to continue dropping further, or is this going to hold, or what's going to happen basically? So in a way, guys, I would probably suggest here to kind of stay put here and keep your eyes on this, of course, on this upside support line. If it breaks here, if Bitcoin moves lower below that, then well, keep your eyes on these lows around the 6,225 zone, approximately there, because this is where it could become more interesting for the bears, because a nice good break below that could potentially drag this one a little bit lower here towards the 6,120 zone initially, which was marked here by the lows that we saw around September time. So a very good potential area of support. But again, I have to kind of put this emphasis here, only if we get a break here below this upside support line, and also a nice good break below the 6,225. Only then we're gonna monitor this next potential area of support at around 6,120. Certainly, if that doesn't hold, well, it could continue dropping further, but we'll get to that point, or should I say, we'll analyze that one again, analyze those levels lower again if we get to this point here. So if this rebounds here and moves higher, still we're gonna remain somewhat cautious still here, because it could potentially start ranging again, and for us, let's say, to move on this one a long term, we would need to see a nice good move above the 6,800 level. Now, just kind of show you what I'm talking about here, looking at this daily chart, because on the 4-hour chart you probably, it's not very clear here, but on the daily chart here, as you can see, this level here, the 6,800, kind of in a way becomes quite an important one to watch, because as it acted as a very nice area of resistance here in the past. So as you can see in September here, also in October, even though on the 15th of October we had this massive overshoot here, but the price kind of managed to get back quickly below this and continued to hold. So as you can see, the bodies kind of remained below the 6,800 level. So in a way, this is something that we're going to keep a close eye on, this level here, because a nice good break above that could potentially open the path towards, well, initially we'll be looking at this 200 EMA here on the daily chart, but then a better area of potential resistance could be seen here near the 7,415, which was marked here by the highs that we saw around September time. So for now, I would probably recommend to stay put here, just to keep your eyes on it, see how it performs and behaves near this this upside support line. If it breaks, then certainly just don't rush into those sells yet, because we need to wait until we get a nice confirmation first. So, but a nice confirmation could be this drop below the 6,225 zone. Okay, jumping into EURGBP now. So this one continues to perform nicely. Last week I was talking about this when I was talking about this this downside resistance line, and the pair was kind of still trading below this, but then we managed to break it here on the 25th of October, and we managed to break it to the upside, and now as you can see, we're pushing higher nicely, even though today's candle, today's daily candle is kind of already in the bear zone, let's put it that way. But jumping into a 4-hour chart here, even though it's in the bear zone, you can see this nice rejection that we had here near the 0.8865 zone, approximately there, of course, slightly above that, and we are seeing this nice push here to the upside. Overall, as we're basically above this downside resistance line. It continues to trade within this short-term rising channel formation, and it could potentially continue moving here higher within this formation. If suddenly, let's say, this breaks the upper bound here, then, well, I mean, this could be looking quite bullish. And if as well, of course, if it moves above the 0.8915 zone, which was marked here by the highs that we saw around the beginning of October, now this could be really looking as a bullish indication here, where it could potentially open the path towards the higher levels like the 0.8946, or even actually all the way here towards the 0.8995 zone, so approximately there, or even actually you can round it up if you want, the psychological 0.90 level. So something could be interesting to watch, but only, of course, if we get this strong push here through the upper side of this rising channel here, and then eventually a nice good close. We get a nice good close above the 0.8915, and like I said, and this way we could then aim for these higher levels. But of course, for now, let's say even if this reverses back down, still not all is lost for the bulls. As you can see by this arrow that I've got drawn here, we could eventually drop lower here, test this downside resistance line from above, and then get our rejection and push higher again. So for us, let's say, to become more bearish on this one, we would need to see this one, of course, breaking the lower side of the rising channel and then closing below the 0.8815 zone, approximately there, because only then we could then target lower levels like the 0.8790 or even the 0.8750 zone. So as you can see by the chart here, so guys, for now, of course, this is kind of looking more bullish than bearish, but of course, always have that little element of the doubt. And at the moment, probably what we're going to do here is just continue monitoring it, because it's way too close to this upper side here, upper bound of the rising channel. But like I said, I'll repeat myself, if we get this strong push here through this upper side of the rising channel and a nice good close above this, now this could, like I said, look quite bullish for the for this pair in the short term. Jumping into EURJPY, now this is a good one as well. Today we're seeing this nice push here to the upside. We managed to break this key area of resistance. I was talking about this one in one of my videos last week, and I was telling you guys to keep your eyes on this potential area of resistance, which got broken today nicely, and that was approximately around the 127.70. So it continues to push higher now. We're aiming now the 128.30 zone, and we're gonna keep a close eye on that one, because it will be interesting to see how it behaves around this level, because the level kind of carries importance here, as it acted as a very nice area of support here in the recent past, and also kind of somewhat as a resistance level. But to be honest, not much as a resistance level, as much as a support here in the beginning of, or should I say, mid-October. So the 128.30 becomes quite an important level for us to watch, because a nice good break above that could potentially open the path towards a little bit higher levels. But to be honest, something for you guys to keep an eye on, keep on monitoring, is this little downside resistance line, which is kind of marking these peaks that we saw here. Let me just kind of put it there. There we go. So in a way, this is what I'm going to be looking at. If we get a nice push here above this 128.30, that's wonderful for the bulls. We could see maybe this one traveling a little bit more to the upside here. Actually, let's get rid of this line here. Is no longer relevant, but this is what we're going to keep an eye on. We're going to keep an eye on this downside resistance line taken from the peak of the 26th of September. We're going to keep on watching it, and if we're going to get a nice test here, we could potentially maybe see the bears stepping in again here. If, of course, this continues to hold, if this downside resistance line continues to hold, we could see some bears stepping in, potentially pushing this one back down. But again, if we're going to start seeing breaks here, now this is where the bears should brace themselves and we could then potentially target the 129.20 zone, and if we get a nice close here above this level, now this is where it could become more interesting for the bulls in for the near term, I would say, because then could open the path towards the levels that we saw here in mid-October, and that's going already into closer towards the 130 zone. So for now, certainly keep your eyes on the 128.30. Let's see how that performs, if it touches that or not today. For us to kind of, let's say, from the very short term perspective, if this moves back below the 127.70, this is where probably we're going to get a bit worried, but still we're going to keep a close eye on the 127 zone, which was acted here as a nice area of resistance on the 14th of August, but this time could be a nice area of support. But to be honest, if this for us to, let's say, now look at the short at the sell let me rephrase that. For us to start looking at the shorts here, we would actually need to wait probably until this gets closer towards the 126.65, and this is where it could become potentially more interesting for the bears, or for the sellers, because it could confirm an upcoming lower low here, if of course if we get a break here below this 126.65, and this is where we could then target much lower levels. But for now, the downside from the very short-term perspective, it seems like the downside is kind of off the table, and we're kind of heading towards these higher levels here that we saw getting tested on last week. So, and that's around the 128.30, or even slightly higher, the 129.20. And the last pair quickly I wanted to touch on before I kind of finish my video here. So the USD against the Turkish Lira. For this one, let me jump into the daily. Looking at this, basically this is quite an interesting picture that we've got here. So since its reversal here on the 13th of August, and then after it peaked for the second time around the 30th of August, kind of this one continues to gradually slide lower below this downside resistance line taken from this peak of the 13th of August, and currently we're now testing this quite important area of support here at around the 5.515 area, something like that, guys. Of course, you look at your charts, but anyway, this area here, this zone around this level, is kind of quite an important area of support. So a nice good break here could potentially open the path towards much lower levels, like the 5.18 zone initially, and below that we do have this 200 EMA shown here as the black line on the daily chart. So we could potentially test that one as well, but for that, of course, we would need to break this 5.18 level, which was marked here by the lows that we saw around the 7th of August. So yep, guys, something like this could be possible. For now, keep your eyes on this potential breaking point here, breaking level. If it happens, if it breaks, then yep, that's wonderful. We could see further declines. Or for the upside here, we would need to see not only a nice good break above this downside resistance line, but also a nice good move above the 5.90 area, and this way we could get more comfortable with the possibility here of seeing this one traveling a little bit higher again. So for now, I probably would suggest to wait and see if we actually get this break and we get this close on the daily chart below this area here, below the 5.515 area, something like that. If for those who are more, let's say, cautious here, in a way, you could wait until this gets closer to the 5.5 area in general. So a nice good close below the 5.5 for those who are more on the conservative side. This could potentially lead towards further declines here. So for now, just continue watching this downside resistance line, and let's see how this plays out. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching and listening, and I hope you found it useful. And if you want to join me, tomorrow at my Trader's Espresso, and that's 6 o'clock GMT plus 2. Sorry, GMT time. No, 6 o'clock GMT time. Yep, and that's 7 o'clock British Summer Time. Yep, thank you very much, guys, for watching and listening, and bye-bye.